Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do something I really don't want to do, but I feel like I want to do it. Does that make sense? Like I don't want to do it, but I feel like it's important to do it. I'm just going to talk about my experience working at MAC. And we're going to kind of do a whole face of MAC. I don't have a product for every single thing, but I have enough and I will link them below. But please subscribe, like, comment, and tell everybody about me. Make them watch me. I mean... but stay tuned if you want to kind of see how I got this look and kind of my tragic experience at MAC Cosmetics. I already tight lined my eyes, and for my lids to prime, move everything out of the way. I'm going to use Painterly. It's a MAC paint pot that I used to use all the time, and I think I stopped using it just because it's pretty thick. But it does cancel out any of the veins or redness or whatever on your lids. So it's kind of hard to talk about my MAC experience just because it was a tough time in my life. But, you know, working for MAC was my dream job. You know, I loved doing makeup. And for me, being a MAC girl and, you know, wearing all black, having the MAC necklace on and using their products, you know, every day on people and learning about the brand more was, you know, the end all be all for me. And so the way it all kind of panned out was incredibly disappointing. So I don't know, and I don't want to talk bad about MAC because I don't think that my experience is probably what most people went through. It's just my experience. I'm using mostly MAC products today, so if I don't say what I'm using just because I'm talking, I'll link it below. But this little palette by MAC is one of my favorites. I'm just going to set what I just did with the lightest color. So working for MAC, you need to have experience. And so they wouldn't just hire you because you were, you know, a self-made makeup artist or self-taught. So I applied to Bare Minerals because they didn't expect you to have experience. They just wanted, you know, you eager to learn, and they would train you. So I thought, you know, working there first would, you know, grant me the experience that I needed to be able to apply at MAC one day. And so I worked for Bare Minerals, and I actually loved it very much. I loved the way that they catered really to women and how to make women feel beautiful, that, you know, you were beautiful no matter what, and this is going to enhance. And most of the products were really good. And I was really surprised by that because it wasn't just based on artistry, it was really based on the person coming in to the store. And I did really well at Bare Minerals because I am like a touchy-feely type person, so that it was really about, you know, catering to the woman and just, you know, taking care of them. And not just what I decided I think that they should put on their face, is that we kind of collaborated together. You know, I'm an expert on these products. I know it will work great for your skin, but what are you looking for? How do you want to feel? How do you want to look? What do you gravitate towards? And so I did really well there. But, you know, end all be all was working at MAC. And so I would always go to the MAC counters and introduce myself in the same mall I was working at. So they would know me. And so, you know, as I would apply and all of that, they would recognize my name, or I would go up to them like, hey, here I applied. And in time, I knew them. And so one day, I was told that they were doing a freelance. You can go in, you can apply to be a freelance artist at MAC. And sometimes that's the easiest way to get onto a counter permanently is because you would be on the freelance list and then they would start to use you, they get to know you and like you, and then when they have an opening, they would hire you. It's better. And I think my microphone was a little wonky before, so if it sounds better now, that's why. Okay, so where was I? Oh, so I went to a second interview. You had to bring a model. I brought my sister, and they brought you down. You had to go to Macy's, a certain Macy's, and they brought you down into this room with everybody else who was doing the second interview, and you had your model in front of you, and then they asked you all to shift to your left. So when I was ready to do my sister Sydney's makeup, which is easy for me just because she has the same coloring and everything, and I already, you know, had an idea in my head of what I was going to do, they gave me somebody else, which is fine, but it's hard when you only know a product from what you use, as in finishes or colors or what have you. So they really wanted to test what you know or what you can adapt to, which I thought it's good, and then it's kind of weird because you're going to learn, right? So what if you didn't? You don't get a chance to go and learn and try. This is a little MAC quatro I made by myself that has all of my easy go-tos to like travel with. I always know what to do if I have these 4 colors. So I did that, and I actually was called and I was hired on as a MAC freelance artist, which I was so excited about. And I, you know, was working at Bare Minerals still, but it wasn't really fair to Bare Minerals to be on a freelance list somewhere else. And so they would call me for shifts, and I would have to, if I wasn't working, that'd be fine, but if I was, I would have to call off to Bare Minerals, and my goal was to become a permanent artist at MAC. So at the time, I was living at home, and I was like, I don't know, just 21 or something, and I said to my mom, I'm like, I really want to be able to be open to doing this whenever they call, and I just have a feeling that it'll ramp up and then I'll be okay, but I wouldn't be able to pay all my bills, like my car payment. And she helped me out, and I was able to put my 2 weeks in at Bare Minerals so that I was open to going to MAC whenever they called me for a shift. I have an SPF that's MAC. I haven't really bought a lot of MAC products in the last few years. I don't know why. Maybe PTSD, but I do love a lot of them. This was the e.l.f. Whoa Glow, of course. So with the MAC freelance list, there's a list of, I don't know if this has changed too. This is, you know, over 10 years ago. But they have a list of freelance artists, and they can pick from them if they need help at their counter. So you can go to any counter. Like they might call you from a MAC store, they might call you from Macy's, they might call you for Nordstrom, just depending on what they need. But they don't just call anybody, they make relationships. And so certain people get called if they know you or they've worked with you before. So that's where my making connections really helped me out. Wait, where's my thing? Radiant Rose Light Boost for under my eyes. The counter I actually wanted to work at was at the same mall I was working at before. It's just the mall I know the best, and it was closest to my home. I just always wanted to work there, and they finally started to get openings for freelancers, and the manager there, Robert, who I introduced myself to many times, finally called me and said, we have openings, can you work all these shifts? And so I started to work at that counter, which it was great because there was a lot of people that I actually knew from going into Bare Minerals, the same kind of customers too. And it was really busy. It was so much fun. I loved it very much when I first started. And there were a couple of girls who really took me under their wing, which it's funny because I was doing makeup for a long time. I just didn't work for MAC for that long time. And so he was a little condescending, but I wanted to take it as it wasn't. Unfortunately, I'm really cynical, so my immediate feeling is that it's condescending, and that's not good. It's not a good quality about me. Medium plus, I just dust all over my face. whatever. I was so happy to be there, and I, you know, please teach me anything, show me things, whatever. And when you're a freelance artist, you don't get you need to do a certain amount each hour, like money-wise, but it doesn't like go under your name. You have to keep track of it, which I think is funny because you can just lie. I didn't lie because I was doing really, really well. And I definitely give credit to working at Bare Minerals just because these people came in and you connected with them. And MAC is really based on artistry, and which is fabulous, but when you're selling to people, people want to feel a connection, and most people don't really, unfortunately, care about artistry. It's exciting for an event, right? These people will come in and want to get their makeup done for an event, but an everyday woman or man, whoever, might just want, you know, light coverage, a great mascara, or, you know, a concealer that really works for them. And sometimes as an artist, that's not that exciting, right? And MAC is really about artistry. I think their number one thing was artistry at that time. Where when I worked at Bare Minerals, the number one thing was that person that's walking in. And I think I did so well because I connected with that person. It was very important to me too, because that's how I want to be treated. You know, like, you're hearing me, you're understanding what I want, but you're also, you know, you can show me different things as well that pertain to me and my needs. Or I think this would look really great on you, not just because you're trying to sell that new line, but because it really will work great for them. I'm gonna take this palette again and just do some bronzing. Kind of, I guess, mix all of these. But so I did really well as a freelance artist, and you put those things under each person. So, doesn't make sense. You put each sale under a person. So if there's 8 people working on the floor, you go in order, like, so-and-so gets your first sale, and the next person gets your next sale, and that adds to their, because you got to put it under their number. I don't have a number yet because I'm not permanent. And so I worked there for a while, and they finally got an open permanent position, and I applied. And I had an interview with a manager, with their regional manager, and I was so nervous. And I don't know why I was so nervous. You know, I was working there for a while. I was doing really good. My sales were really high. They kept on calling me. I was working at that counter all the time. And in my interview, they ask you questions like, tell me about Viva Glam and that program and all that stuff. And I knew at the time a little bit about it. I knew that it was helping with the AIDS fund and what have you. But she asked me all of these questions that I don't know. I felt like it was really in depth for an interview where I've already worked there and I've done really well, and not just like educate me on it. It's not something I don't think you have to know to initially work somewhere. When I had an idea what it was, but I don't know, it felt like a very intense interview. My battery died. I'm off my game today. I'm also really like nervous to talk about this. I don't know why. It's just my experience, unfortunately. But what was I talking about? Oh, my interview. Whatever. I felt like I was just being asked questions that I just couldn't answer correctly, or the way she wanted me to, and I was really, really nervous. And so I got off the phone, and I just felt bad. And I think, unfortunately, I'm better in person than on the phone. I just, you know, sometimes I sound very straightforward, or, you know, I don't know, and I'm sarcastic. So I think when you see my facial expressions, or, you know, the way I'm gesturing, I think it changes a lot. So I don't know. I just don't think she liked me, and it was really unfortunate because I was working there, you know, almost like full-time freelancing for them and doing really, really well. And I was called after that and was told I didn't get the job. So I was still freelancing, someone else was hired, and it really sucked. But then something happened, I don't even remember, but something happened where I got hired permanently, and I was so excited. I was a MAC girl, had a necklace, I just loved it. But it just went downhill. And I think it's so hard to talk about for me because, again, I don't want to sound like, I don't know, a baby or an asshole or whatever. But so when I was working at the other mall, the Northland Mall, they always wanted me to, so they have collaborations all the time, or new sets, you know, like every month there's a new product or a new, what have you, what is it called? Like a new set of stuff, right? And they want you to wear it because they want you to sell it. And some things are just things I don't like wearing, or in the way they want me to wear it. I feel like makeup is an expression of yourself. It either is for you to express or to kind of enhance or, you know, take away something that you don't like. My hair is driving me crazy, I apologize. So I just think it's a very personal thing. You know, we're all wearing it to feel good about ourselves. And I don't like pink on me. I hate pink on me. Or at least pink lips or pink eyes. Blush I've gotten a little better about, but it's just not my thing. And so when a new line came out, I wouldn't gravitate towards the pink lipstick. I'd gravitate towards something that I felt pretty in. And it might be like an orange or something, but I would just be constantly told that I'm not, you know, I'm not using things out of the box for myself, and I'm just using all the same kinds of things. And it was funny because every day I'd wear like a new different color, and maybe they were in like the same kind of tones or what have you, but every day, you look the same, you look the same. And I'm like, well, I used this today instead of this. I use this. Like, no, you look the same. And I'm like, well, this is what I feel good in, and I'm still wearing things that are new, but you just don't like it, you know. And so I started trying other stuff. Like I used a pink lip from a new line, and I was still told, you look the same, you look the same. And so every day I would come in and I would have so much anxiety that I wasn't, like, how I looked wasn't okay. So I would be terrible because I still wanted to present myself and feel pretty. So I still wanted to do my makeup how I did it, but I would add certain things so that they wouldn't say, oh, you look the same, oh, you look the same, you're not branching out, you're not, blah, blah. But it was just such a struggle for me every single day. Like I wore this pink lip once. I actually bought it so that I would have it at home all the time and not just go to work and put it on. And I hated wearing it. I hated it, but I just kept on telling me I look the same, I look the same, I'm doing the same thing. And it was just like this terrible, terrible feeling. And I mean, it helped me kind of branch out a bit, but I also just felt like I couldn't be myself. I couldn't put my makeup on the way I felt good about it. And that was really tough for me to every time go into work and just get nervous that I was going to get talked to about the way I looked. And so when I went to the other MAC counter that I wanted to be at so bad, I thought it might change, but it didn't. It got worse. It definitely got worse. And when I was hired permanently, I actually, in my first month, was top salesperson at my counter, which I think was a big deal because I was brand new and I didn't always feel good going into work because of that talking to, I guess. And to be top in the first month that you get hired, I felt so good. I really did. And I think, again, it was because I connected with the, I wanted to say patient because I've worked in the medical field for so long, with the customer. I thought it was very important to connect with them, to kind of navigate what they're looking for and not really place what I want on them if it didn't work. And the girl who usually was the top salesperson, who, I mean, honestly, her makeup it was her thing, but like, I don't know, she had such a chip on her shoulder, and I was like, why? I don't know, that's not very nice, but because everybody can look however they want to look and what they feel pretty, but like she just had like she would pound on makeup and it was just really flaky, and I couldn't stop staring at all the little flakes. It would drive me crazy. Because at that moment, I think MAC was also getting into skincare and prepping your skin with skincare instead of just the makeup and maybe like a primer. So, you know, maybe the tools and the knowledge that some of these people had. When I came from Bare Minerals, where we were heavy on skincare, whatever, it doesn't matter. Who cares what anybody looks like? You can do whatever you want. That's where I'm getting at, is that look however you want. Yes, I can come in and say, hey, why don't we try this? Or have you ever done this before? But at the end of the day, do whatever the frick you want. Look however you want. Who cares? And then leave me alone. I'd really appreciate it if you let me do what I want. Or, you know, express myself. Whatever. So I was top. I felt really good about it. And she went to me, she goes, don't get used to it. And this was somebody I thought was my friend. I told her, took me under her wing. And I go, don't get used to it. Like, are you that threatened by me? Or you can't just say, good job? You know, because I used to, you know, confide in her about the way I feel and whatever, and so happy to be a MAC girl. And I was just like, okay. So we're really not here for each other. You know, I was more here to kind of boost your ego that you, like, took me under your wing. All right. I did not like that. Did not like that at all. I tried really hard, and it was very important to me to do well, and it's always very important for me to do well wherever I am, because, you know, you're at your job how many hours a week, how much you give of yourself. If I'm not giving 110%, I don't feel good about it. So that really freaking sucked and made me feel really bad when I was feeling really good. Sorry, I'm like ranting. This is going to be such a long video, and I apologize. All right, I have a bunch of MAC blushes I've put in here that I've had for 40 years, it feels like. And I'm going to use, let's see, Fleur Power, which I don't even know if they make anymore, but I want something kind of peachy pink. And I want you to know that the makeup I've done so far today is really good. I haven't done like a full face of MAC in so long, and it looks really good. I mean, MAC makeup is really good, so I'm just a baby. So I felt really bad about that. And almost every single day I came into work, I was talked to about the way I looked. My manager, he would sit at the counter and he would bring over another girl who I worked with. And he would stand there like this, and I'd be like farther away, and he would get my attention, and he would go, let's just call her Lisa. He'd go, Lisa. And she's like, yeah. And he would, what's wrong with Rebecca's face today? That was almost every time I came in. And I would just sit there, and I felt good. I liked my makeup. I was very happy with it. But that's what they would do. And I would feel so bad. I cried almost every single day I left that job. I would cry almost every time I went into work, because I knew it. No matter what I did, I wasn't going to look good for them. They weren't going, you know, no matter how many sales I made or how well I did, or it didn't matter. They ripped me apart, and it killed me. This was all the time. And then one day, this is when contouring was getting really, I'm sorry, I'm fidgeting so much. This was when contouring became really popular, and I don't like contouring. I am really, really fair, first of all, and I don't like to do any sort of, I mean, you don't have to do it heavy, but at that moment it was heavy, and for me, it easily becomes heavy. And so my manager took me and he did my face. And he's like, here, this is how you should be doing it. First of all, there's no should with makeup. That's how I feel. There is no should. Okay, I'm going to put on this porcelain pink. And as you can see, I think it was a tester when I worked there. I don't even know if they make this anymore, but I freaking love it. It's like this soft highlight. You can put it all over the skin. But it's just a soft little highlight. Whatever. He said, this is how you should look. There's no should. If I want to do a bronzer with a green color and be a green person and then, you know, wear 5 sets of lashes, I don't know. I can do whatever I want. This is my expression. This is how I feel pretty. Whatever. There's no should. This might be an option. And I remember looking in the mirror after he did my face and I hated it so much. Because I was like carved out. I was really pale. Because he didn't like bronze me up or anything. I don't know. And I just stood there and I was like, yeah, thank you. And then like every day, why aren't you doing what I showed you? Why aren't you doing this? I don't know. My confidence just was like every day. Every single day. It was a horrible, horrible experience. To have people constantly criticize the way you look, the way you do things, and then also be outperforming everybody else. It was the suckiest feeling ever. So my best friend was still working at Bare Minerals, who I haven't heard from this person in so long, and I miss her every single day. I don't know, I think she changed her number over time, and I loved her more than anything. So that's, I don't know why I'm telling you this. Whatever, if she watches this or anybody knows me and knows who I'm talking about, tell her to call me. I loved her. Whatever. She was working at the counter still, or at the, we had our own boutique, which was amazing because working at a counter blows balls. It really does. It's so terrible. But when you have your own boutique and you have your own bathroom, you have your own break room, it's amazing. And so they got a new manager, and I go, I think I want to come back. I can't work here anymore. I feel like shit all the time. I don't think that they're putting the customer first, or this counter. It might have just been this counter, right? I can't say that all of MAC treated their customers or their employees this way, because people have worked there forever. They have great experiences. I just didn't. I got this when I worked there too. This is the MAC Brow Duo in Redhead. I don't know if they make this anymore, but I got this when I worked there. Just gonna do a little bit in the tails. But so she introduced me to the new manager, and we kind of fell in love. She's my friend to this day. I love her. She's also on YouTube, Erin. She's fabulous. But sorry, I'm like trying to concentrate on this because I never really put anything in my brows because I'm also growing them out, so they look crazy really fast. Perfect. This is also a really good redhead palette. If they still have it, I will put it below. And she was gonna hire me, and I just was so excited and happy about it because I needed to get out of MAC. It was just so shitty working there. And so when I decided I was going to leave, because I did get hired by Erin at Bare Minerals again, my manager was actually on vacation. So I called my assistant manager, which my assistant manager, let me say, we're still kind of like acquaintances, and she used to work at the mall. I used to see her all the time. She was amazing. She really understood what I was going through, and she didn't pick on me in any way. And it was really nice to have somebody that kind of was there for me, or was able to listen and just absorb. So he was on vacation, and I told her, she's like, do you want to wait for him? I go, no, I need to put my 2 weeks in because I need to start this new job. He's on vacation, I'm sorry. Whatever. So I put my 2 weeks in, and I'm not going to put any mascara on. I just want it to kind of be light. Greg and I are just going to run errands today. Go to Target, which is always a bad idea, but that's what we're going to do. And I remember he called me, and I was making them good money at that counter. I was doing really well at that counter. And he said, what can I do to keep you? And I was just shocked, because one of the biggest reasons I was leaving was because of him. And it was hard for me to say, I don't want to work with you. And I said, what did I say? I said, half your staff needs to go because they were just nasty and mean. And I want to be a full-time artist, which not a lot of counters have full-time positions that are open. They're usually taken and people usually stay there for a while. And I think it was like 30, 32 hours, which made you full-time. And he, you know, I asked for 2 things that he couldn't do. If you don't, you know, he's not going to get rid of staff, and he's not going to give me a position that they don't have. And so that kind of ended my MAC journey. I'm trying to find a MAC liner I wanted to use. This is I don't know if they make this anymore either. I'm telling you, I haven't bought a lot of MAC makeup in a while. And I think this might have been from a, whatever. Lip Intensity Lip Pencil in Toasted Butter. It's so creamy, it's so pretty. I used to wear this all the time, but now everything is kind of buried. Alrighty. Okay, so I started working at Bare Minerals again. I left MAC, and Bare Minerals was a lot better because, again, I came from it, I knew it, but I had to like claw my way up to where I was again. Which I was okay with because I was just so thankful to be back and have that job and leave MAC. And it was really hard for me, that whole MAC experience. This is, what is this? Sweet Cinnamon Powder Kiss, which I love this too. Just need a little bit. Just kind of, alrighty. So, to finish off my story, it was really, really hard for me. It was my dream job. I've never really had a dream job before. What does that do to me? Like, when I think about what I would want to do, that was kind of, that was a goal, right? I've never really had something that intense. Now I do. Now I would really love to be a full-time content creator and talk about makeup and all of that. This is what I would love to do as a full-time job. But the last time I had a feeling like this was then. And for it to kind of fall apart was really tough. And then after Bare Minerals for a little bit, I actually left that too because it's a very hard place to be, the beauty industry. It can be amazing and then it can be tough because everybody's, you know, wanting to be the best, the prettiest, the, you know, the most talented, or have the highest sales, or, you know, what have you. And I just felt like it was a little toxic, and something that I love so much, doing makeup. I love doing makeup. I was freelancing for myself on the side too, but working at a counter or a store was, you know, the easiest way to have consistent work. You know, you're working for a company, you go into work, you get paid no matter if someone comes in or not. You also get to really learn a product, which that's part of why I love makeup so much, is I love learning about a product. I love really knowing what's the ingredients, what it's for, why we made it, you know, all of that. And one thing about MAC, which I was surprised by, is there was not a lot of education. There was more education on how to like apply things. But when I worked at Bare Minerals, and we were especially doing our skincare, like you would get the moisturizer and you would learn about that moisturizer, and they would teach you how to speak to it. Like, this moisturizer has this in it and that's why it's going to do this. So you really knew what you were speaking about. Your education was very important. So at MAC, I remember this. I go, I really want to know what's in this, what's about this, and especially on slow days, because sometimes you had slow days. During the week, you were slower. And they gave me this book. And I don't know what it was called. And it just had the ingredients in it. And I'm like, that's not what I want. I want you to kind of just say, like, I don't know, there's a skin finish, right? We put, you know, it's baked for this reason. It has these like reflex in it, which is really going to do this to the skin. Just way to speak to things and know what you're talking about, which I think is really important. And that's one of the reasons I love the beauty industry so much, is I love speaking about these things and knowing about these things. So I quit. I remember I just I just hit a wall where I was not enjoying something I loved anymore, and I didn't want to ruin makeup for me. I didn't want to hate something I loved, and it was becoming that way every single day. Having to go and do it, put a face on, it felt bad. So I quit, and I applied to just work at medical offices. So I had a job where I could just go to work, do my job, and when I left it, it was done for the day. I didn't think about it, didn't stress about it, didn't feel bad about it. That's kind of how I got to where I am now, and I've been working in the medical field for a long time, and especially like med spas and plastic surgery offices, which was kind of like my love of cosmetics and aesthetics, and what I've been doing kind of mixed together, which is really great too. But yeah, that's my experience. And now I started doing TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, because I want to get back into it on my terms, where I can speak to what I love and what I want to share with other people. And it gives me an excuse to try new makeup too and share it with others, because Greg doesn't care if I tell him about a lipstick I love. And I'm hoping that this becomes something. I'm going to keep trying no matter what, but I'm so enjoying getting into makeup again and just sharing things on my terms. So again, this is not everybody's experience. This is just mine, and it was really hard, but everything you do brings you to where you are now, right? If I didn't go through all of that, I wouldn't have, left and gone to Bare Minerals and became the assistant manager sooner than I thought, and then also leave again and get into the medical field, which brought me to learning about, admin and managing, and then moving to California and being able to work at a med spa because I had medical experience. Like, everything happens for a reason. And I really have to think of it that way, because it was a really hard thing for me to be so disappointed. So go for what you want, always. And, hopefully you have a great experience. And if you don't, just take it as something you're learning, something that's going to give you strength for something else, because it definitely gave me strength, because I am more on board with my aesthetic because of it. Like, screw you, I'm doing what I want. I'm going to look how I want. And I'm going to, So, all right. Thank you so much. I know this wasn't really heavy on, my look, but I'm actually, like, in person, this looks better than I've done my makeup in a long time, because I just used very, very little, which is really nice. This little palette, just kind of buffing it in areas you want more coverage instead of doing a whole face, really, really nice. And it worked great over my e.l.f. Whoa Glow, which is the best thing in the whole world. Amazing. I'm really falling back in love with some makeup that I stopped using for a while. But thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. I appreciate it, and I'll see you next week.